Going for it, Johnny?
Take two.
Sorry, John.
All right, Johnny, nice hat.
Very nice, isn't it? It arrived in the post only yesterday morning. Length does matter, bubble hat. I mean, length does matter. Top.
Looking good. I think we've got one coming your way, Foxy.
Got a hat
nice
for you,
bobble hat.
Yeah,
Like
I'd
your
love
hat
one
collection.
of them.
Get
I'm not so
one
sure
sorted.
I'm not so sure I'd call it a bubble though, with the title of the program. Length does matter. I think it should be referred to as a bell.
Do you think?
A bell hat.
Draw your own conclusions.
But no, what I would say it is
You
very
don't want to get the wording wrong, do you, when you say a bell hat?
certainly not. It's a very nice fit, and it's extremely warm, given the beast from the east is en route. So
The
coming
weather's
very
been
handy
crap,
this
hasn't it?
week.
Yeah,
The weather has been miserable.
yeah. Well, if it's nice and warm, your central heating must be rubbish.
Well, turn the heating down. It's got a strict regime in this house, mate. We're in here 24 hours a day. It's got to go on timer at some point.
When winter comes, it's keep the heating off for as long as possible. Don't turn it on. Don't turn it on now. I think it's it's like get the heating on.
Upstairs
Put it on
now.
for another hour. Put it on.
They're all upstairs asleep now. Well, length does matter hats on. Keep them warm.
Go on, Rushy, kick it off.
Well, I just thought, obviously, we're going to have a bit of a chat about mental health awareness. I just think with everything that's kind of going on at the minute, like I say, we're 5 weeks-ish into another lockdown or the latest lockdown. I know a few of my mates on social media who are putting a few things out there. Speaking to Johnny during the week, Johnny's been feeling a little bit shit. I just think, it's a great chance to, I guess, discuss something that's, very relevant at the minute with everything that's going on. And it's not the normal kind of chat we would have on a Friday night, but it's something serious. And like we said on the socials, if it makes a difference to at least one person, then it's worth it.
I think one of the aspects of lockdown is that it's exacerbated how people are, because it for the first time probably in their lives, they've been stuck in a situation where they've either looked inwards accidentally or inwards has come out and shown itself to them. So I want to start with, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. They're dead simple. That's all. You don't have to think too long about them. Number 1, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you know about mental health? 10 being very knowledgeable. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you know about mental health? Yep. Got it?
Yep.
2, on a scale of 0 to 10, how confident would you be recognising poor mental health?
Unknown caller.
Oh, God, my phone. I'm going to turn it off. Get off.
Unknown caller.
Yeah, unknown caller.
Decline.
Yeah, well, obviously. Sorry, let me just deal with this. You can edit this bit out. Right, 3. On a scale of 0 to 10, how confident would you be to ask for help if you were experiencing poor mental health? Four. Same scale, 0 to 10. How confident would you be to ask someone else if they needed help or support? And last one, 0 to 10. How much do you know about maintaining good mental health? Dead simple questions. No right, no wrong answers. Just write them down. There's an enormous amount talked these days about mental health. But what actually is mental health? What is it? We all have it, but what is it? Now, the World Health Organization, and I'm sure we've all heard a lot from them recently, this is their definition, right? A state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Now, that's their definition, right? We're laymen. What would you say it is? What is mental health? Any answers? It's just a conversation. What is mental health?
I think for me, it's just not necessarily feeling happy.
No. Right. Okay.
I think it's the stuff that you've described about just being able to function properly, think clearly, concentrate properly, like all that kind of stuff. For me, that's what I would kind of associate it with. Yeah.
Chris?
No, similar. I guess it like what's inside you. I think for me, I guess I would associate with what's inside you. Again, feelings, same as Johnny. What you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you express yourself.
See, I think there's a lot of confusion knocking about, and there's bound to be, because it is an intricate issue. But there's a lot of confusion between what is a normal emotional down, and we all get fed up. You know, if you don't take any wickets, I didn't get any runs, you know, that we feel down. But there is a difference between an emotional down and a mental health down. Yeah. And Sarah, my wife, described it beautifully one day, a long time ago. She said, she looked at me and just said, when I'm down, I know that if I won the lottery, my mood will be elevated and all my problems will go away. She said, but when you're down, if you won the lottery, it wouldn't make any difference to how you feel. And I think that is a great summarization of the difference between emotional down and mental health down. I mean, I've been on tours. We all have. It doesn't have to be on tour, but we've had bad spells in a game. We've had bad spells in our life, and we are down. But
Foxy,
if all those circumstances disappear, then we're fine again.
Yeah. When did you sort of first know you were suffering from it? How long have you been dealing with it now?
I didn't know. Right?
Didn't know.
No, this is a true story. I started work at the university in 1996, Durham University, and it was 2009 or 2008-9 that academic year. So I've been running it quite a while, and the longest holiday that we got was between the end of term before Christmas, which was usually around about first, second week in December, until the first, second week, sometimes third week in January. So I had a long period of time off, which was brilliant because we had 3 young daughters. I spent all Christmas with them. I didn't have any preparation to do for the new term because I've been doing it for nearly 10 years, and I knew what to do. Yeah. So it was brilliant. So I'm sitting in the conservatory where I am now, first week in January, and Sarah just walked in, and Georgina was 8 at the time, walked in with Georgina, and she said, "You need to go to the doctors." I said, "What for?" "I know I've got a bit of a cough, but why?" She said, "You're depressed." I said, "What?" She said, "You're depressed." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You haven't talked to any of us for 4 weeks." And Georgina said, "Dad, you just sit in the conservatory every day with a Land Rover magazine, and it's the same magazine every day." So I just looked at Sarah and said, "Okay, make me a doctor's appointment." And after that conversation, I sort of went inside my head and realized that I'd lost connection with everything. I'd lost connection with myself, with my family. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. I initially thought this was just me relaxing over Christmas. Yeah. But once Sarah pointed it out, I realized that I had just disconnected. I wasn't functioning.
So that's when I went. That first conversation when you went to the doctors, was that a tough conversation for you to engage in? Were you then aware? Were you honest? You know
yes,
what I mean?
You know me, Rushy. I'm very open. I'm very honest to the point of being obnoxious sometimes. But I sat with him, and I'd realised, because it was about a week after Sarah made the appointment, and I sat with him, and I realised that what is the point of covering something up or telling half truths to a bloke who I hope can help me feel better.
Yeah.
And at one point he said to me, "Have you thought of suicide?" And I said, "No, I haven't, because I know I have a fantastic family. I have a great job. I have a great life, but it's over there somewhere, and I can't get to it. So have I thought of committing suicide? The answer is no. But do I wish I was dead? The answer is yes." And
Foxy, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, go on.
You mentioned, obviously, Sarah had obviously signposted to you.
Yeah.
I think you're depressed. I think you need to go and see a doctor. At that point and in that moment, did you think you had an issue, or were you just completely oblivious, do you think, to everything that was going on?
I was oblivious to how I was, but I also know that Sarah, and we've been married a long time by then, she's very intelligent, very astute, and I trusted her. So if she came out with something so radical, and then I started to think about it, I thought she was right. So at that point, I went to the doctors and was completely and utterly honest, because I didn't want, by that time, I realized I didn't want to be how I was. And he said to me later on, after the suicide bit, he said, "So what do you want?" I said, "Pardon?" He said, what do you want?" He said, "Do you want to go down the conversational route and therapy?" And I said, "Well, to be honest, I can't put sentences together. I can't think. My head doesn't work. And so, no, I don't want that." He said, "Well, the other route's medication." So we decided to go down that route. And I had a good relationship with our GP. We talked a hell of a lot about many other things as well, and that was the route that I chose. And he said, "Look, this is not like getting flu, where you're going to be better in 2 weeks." He said, "This will take time." He said, "If you want to go down the pharmaceutical route, we will have to try something. It may suit you, it may not. It takes 3 weeks to get in your system. If it doesn't suit you, you then have to come off it for 3 weeks and then try something else. He said, so it could be a long process. And it was either the second or the third drug that I ended up taking that made me feel numb. And numb was better than wanting to be dead. Now, numb made me look at life through thick glass. It was like I was behind a window. But over a period of time, my head started to work again. And that was when I came up with my 0 to 20 scale. I don't know whether you know about it. Do you know my scale, Johnny?
I've read a few things on Twitter, and I know you've maybe mentioned it.
It's 0 to 20, 10's neutral, below 10 I'm ill, above 10 I'm well. If I've never been a 1 nor a 19, I can operate down to, once I get to 8, I struggle. Last week I was struggling. Above 10, I'm brilliant. To be honest right now, and I can tell in the way my speech is, because it's not as clear as it normally is, I'm about an 11, but I can function. So I taught that to the kids.
Well, that's good, Foxy, because when we were chatting the other day, you were a 9.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I think there's a lot, and I'm sure other people will understand. There's a lot of I like daylight, and when you get up in the morning and it's pitch black, and by 4 o'clock it's pitch black, that doesn't help me. And there'll be a lot of people sitting, and the weather's been horrible. The first lockdown wasn't that bad because it was nice. It was summery. It was different. We could explore new things. This one has been awful. Although we're now used to what lockdown means, but the fact that we are stuck inside in the dark, and to be honest, for the last week and a half, the pissing rain, and there's more snow forecast, that has also been really confining, and I've found that difficult, and I'm damn sure I'm not the only one. And in the month of January, I basically I wished I was a hedgehog so I could hibernate.
I know exactly how you feel. I'm obviously in a totally different environment at the minute because I'm training full time. For me personally, I'm in a routine that's very similar to a normal winter at the moment. But I know my wife, who's working 3 days a week from the kitchen table, she's not as not as upbeat as me. And I know, speaking to Johnny during this week, Johnny's been working from home and stuck at his kitchen bench and with his little ones around and stuff. And I guess there's millions of people all around the country who feel exactly the same, who are in such a bad place.
We are social animals. That's what we are. We've been brought up by our parents and our schools and our clubs and wherever to get on with each other. And then all of a sudden, that is taken away. And it's okay making phone calls, and you should Skype, and we should do this, and we should text. But there are times when I've been sitting in the living room behind me, and I've just gone, I should ring such a buddy. I can't be asked. And yet we are social animals, and yet there have been times I can't make that effort. The weird thing is, if I do make the effort and I do ring somebody at the end of the phone call, I feel better, and I'm damn sure they do too. Now, your wife's working at the kitchen table. There is something psychological, and you're training, but there's something psychological about being able to go from one place to your workplace. Because when you leave your workplace and come home, that transition brings you back into your normal life. Now your wife won't have that, which was why I built an office in the garden for Sarah. And she says that 15-meter walk makes all the difference.
Oh, as somebody who I work from home,
Did you work from home before COVID?
No. I worked in a very busy. So my job, and I'll not go too much into it, but my job is a very.
Well, we all know you're MI6.
A very, very busy office environment where I am literally surrounded by hundreds of people I know because I've worked there. I've worked in this organization for 16 years, and the culture shift to go from being in a really busy office environment where everyone's relatively upbeat, you know everybody, to being so isolated to a place where you eat your breakfast, you eat your lunch, you eat your tea, and you now work there. Like literally, I'm not even, I don't know whether it's psychological or not, I'm literally not even sat, I normally do this at my kitchen table, but because I've just sat there for so long, I've come over to the city tonight to do this. Do you know what I mean?
There is a thing where if your home is where you work and you work from the same part of your home all the time, you almost resent that bit of your house because it's like looking at the office 24/7.
Yeah.
So that we have to. I mean, it may well be right. Bear with me, Johnny. When you get up in the morning, and what time do you start your work?
Just, do you know what? Whenever, like, so my routine is like literally at the moment, I can log on anywhere between 6 and 7 in the morning.
All right.
Work emails, do a little bit of work. Then because we've had a couple of like bad weeks, like isolating and things like that, I might take Charlie to nursery. Then I'll come back, do work. And then it's kind of
so what's happening?
Emails at 7:30 tonight.
So what's happening is your work and home life is starting to mesh together, and there isn't a line of demarcation.
Yeah.
Right. Try this. Right. Just try it, or something similar. When you wake up, you will know what time you can start, but why don't you just put an arbitrary figure on it? And I don't know whether that's 8:30 or 9 o'clock or 7:30, but just put a time on it that I am not going to look at anything until that time. So I'm going to be at home. I'm going to have my breakfast. I'm going to take Charlie to nursery. I am going to do that. And then go outside, put your fucking oilskins on because you'll need them, and go for a walk and pretend that's your journey from your home to your office.
Yeah.
Come back in, sit at the kitchen table, do your work, and then when you finish, have a lunch break. Go and sit in a different part of the house and have a lunch break. And then at the end of the day, you have a line of demarcation. After this time, I am not doing any more. And go for another walk, which is your walk from work back to home. Yeah. And that psychological, it sounds stupid, but I guess that psychological breaking up of home and work will make a difference. When I was playing at Durham for 2 years, I lived in, obviously the ground wasn't at Chesley Street, we were all over the show. And I lived in Durham, I lived in May Street, and I loved it. But if the journey from the ground back to May Street wasn't long enough, I would often make a detour on the way home and drive around Durham, because Durham's a lovely place, and I'd drive around a little bit, and then I'd get a sense of, and then I'd drive back to May Street and I'd be fine. Because it's almost like I want to get work out of me. I want to be able to be me tonight. I want to be able to sit down and be me. And the problem that Sarah had before I built the office was that she couldn't separate work and home. So she was always struggling. So the well-being bit of this is we made an artificial demarcation by putting an office in the garden. If that's not possible for you, make your journey to work with a walk.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it's not, you see, we all know, I reckon everybody's suffering, but it's not just about telling each other how we're suffering, although we should, but we need to find gentle solutions, gentle suggestions. There's no point having a problem without a solution. So one of my solutions to you, Johnny, is to set your hours, lunch in a different place, and go for a walk before work and go for a walk after work. I don't know whether it's going to work, but you will find out.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the thing with me is I kind of know
at the back of your head. Yeah.
I kind of know what I need to do, and it's just about breaking routine. It's breaking the rut, break the routine a little bit.
See, well, in January, I knew what to do, but I just couldn't do it. So what I did...
Knowing what you need to do and actually doing it, it's two totally different things.
So because of my... I mean, the first time I suffered depression was 2009, so I've lived with it for a long time. Never goes away. It's always like a shadow at the back. So what I did, I thought, well, right, just ride January out. I know it's a passage of time. I know that I will start to feel better. So don't feel guilty about it. Don't be impatient about it. Don't get it yourself. Just ride it out. Now, fortunately, I have a family situation where I can do that. But just be gentle with yourself. And I just rode it out. And bit by bit, I'm coming back up again. As I know I will, but I've been managing it, if you know what I mean. When I've been able to do stuff, I've done it. And whether it's the laundry or tidying something, and when I've not been able to do it, I've just gone, it don't matter. It won't be long before I'll be able to. And it's an unknown arena for a lot of people. They've never experienced this before. And I think one of the keys is to be gentle with yourself. This is unusual. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do unbelievably daft things or intense things. Ride it. Just let it go. Right. I mean, how many videos have you seen of this? When somebody gets on a roller coaster and there's a camera on them and they're going up and they wish they'd never got on it. And they're screaming and crying and all sorts. But at the back of their head, they know it's only 2 minutes. It's a bit different if you've got emotional and mental health issues, but have the confidence to know that that horrible ride will end. Patience to be kind to yourself makes a massive, massive difference.
Yeah.
I mean, we're used to living, you and I, Rush, you're used to living in weird circumstances where we go away for a week, come back for a week, go away for 2 weeks, come back for a week, go away for 3 weeks. So we're used to a peripatetic lifestyle, especially when you go abroad during the winter. So we're used to that. But a lot of people aren't. So all we need to say to them is, look, it's not something you want to get used to, but you will be able to, and you will be able to find your way. And at the end of all this, you'll have a greater experience of yourself. And life will never be as it was, We'll never be, because we won't get rid of this virus. To eradicate it will be almost impossible. We'll never get rid of it. But we'll be able to manage it. So we'll have a different normal. And I think what people are learning now about social distancing, about hand washing, about just doing things in a different way, like I'm going to go shopping once a week rather than bits every day. I think we'll all gain a lot of experience so that when the new normal comes, we'll be able to deal with it. And I mean, I'll give you an absurd example. I live in a village where we have a village hut, right? The village is basically a rectangle with a village hall, they call it. It's a corrugated iron hut. And they used to have New Year's Eve. And it was fucking crackers because they didn't have a proper bar. People just brought cans down. And by midnight, everyone was as you'd expect. And then all of a sudden, there were people who sort of neighbours who don't like you. They're all shaking your hand and wanting to hug you. and it was like, what the hell's going on now? I know he doesn't like her, she doesn't like her, and yet they're all embracing. All that bullshit, hopefully, will have gone. Because if there's ever a New Year's Eve in the hut again, people will go, Happy New Year, and fuck off. Because there has been an awful lot of false affection in our society. And I think that will be cancelled out.
Yeah.
That's just
you think things like that will be social gatherings and stuff? Will they ever be the same again? And will, like you say, will people look at them the same way, or is that just changed things? Not forever, but for a long time.
I think they'll change. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when AIDS came out. When AIDS was it's a daft word, but invented, if you know what I mean. And they said, well, it could be laying dormant in you for 6 years. Now, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and they were very promiscuous decades. And I remember thinking, fucking hell. And obviously I'm not gay, but I remember thinking, well, that could be. And that was scary. That was a scary, scary time. But people over years through medicine and education have learned to understand that. So AIDS doesn't make headlines these days. HIV is no longer a death sentence. And I think it'll be the same type of thing with this coronavirus. And I don't mean to be scathing about or disrespectful of HIV and AIDS. Please, I don't mean to be. But I think that the coronavirus will be a similar type of thing, although more massive, on a more global scale. But I'm darn sure that the science will be able to deal with it, will be able to cope with it, but our new normal will not be hugging every bugger on New Year's Eve. Yeah. It'll be different. We'll have a different approach.
You know how you're on about sort of age and education and awareness and that kind of stuff. Is that similar to mental health? So where it was when you first got diagnosed, you think now people are getting educated on how to deal with it, how to manage it, how to see it?
The two main weapons are education and openness. If we have openness, not only from individuals, but from employers, from the employees, from governing bodies, and if we have education on all respects, then they are the two main weapons in order to, you can't not eradicate, you can't eradicate mental health. That's I was thinking back to the virus, but in order to help society and individuals and establishments deal with this issue, it's never going to go away. We all have mental health. I mean, how do you spot somebody who's one of your colleagues who's you think may have a mental health issue? And it's usually because their behaviour's changed.
Yeah.
You know, a nice bubbly bloke all of a sudden becomes silent. Somebody who's a snappy dresser turns up scruffy. Somebody who's punctual turns up late. Somebody snaps when they're usually quite quiet. There are signs. And I think the education in this respect will help. It's weird. Alexa Ray, our youngest daughter, who's now 19, was 2, I think, when I was first diagnosed. She has slight issues. Kate, our eldest, is bipolar 2. Georgina, the middle one, only occasionally has anxiety issues. I was talking with Alexa Ray the other day, and her boyfriend has been diagnosed with ADHD. And she just said, Dad, I hope that whenever I get married and have children, that they grow up in a house talking about and understanding mental health issues. It should be as normal as don't put your finger in that plug socket.
Right.
So, education, and openness. Yeah. Right. I'll tell you what I'll do now. We'll go back to those first 5 questions. And be honest, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you know about mental health? What did you put? What number did you put, Johnny? I'm putting you on the spot.
5.
Okay. What would you say now?
Probably 8.
Not really, honestly.
Honestly, 8.
All right. Rushy, what would you say? Oh, Rushy's frozen. Johnny, second one. On a scale of 0 to 10, how confident would you be in recognising poor mental health? What did you put?
6.
What would you say now?
7.
Number 3, how confident would you be to ask for help if you were experiencing poor mental health? What did you put?
I put 3.
Right, go on. What have you put now?
5.
It's difficult, isn't it? It is difficult, but we're going in the right direction. 4, on a scale of 0 to 10, how confident would you be to ask someone else if they needed support?
8. I put originally.
Right. Now?
Probably a 10, man.
Well, you didn't have to go up, but 8's pretty good to start with.
But yeah, I did put 8, and I would feel even more confident now, just knowing some of the stuff that we've spoke about tonight. So I would have no problems at all asking anyone. Do you know what I mean? Because I think now I understand a little bit more about it. More, I feel confident enough to be able to spot it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. On a scale of 0 to 10, last one. How much do you know about maintaining good mental health? What did you put?
I put an 8.
And what do you put now?
I would still say an 8.
That's fine. That's great. There's no right, no wrong answers.
Yeah, I would still say an 8.
Well, that's brilliant. But the thing is, it's openness. Yeah. And the fact that we all have mental health, and it's a bit like a conversation. the way to have a conversation, if you want to have a decent conversation, the first thing you have to do is listen.
Yeah.
So when it comes to mental health issues and those people around you, the first thing you have to do is listen, observe. And the great thing is, if you want help, if you're not feeling great, you have to voice. When I came up with my scale and I went back to work at the university, and I went back too early, if I'm being honest, I told all the coaches in the office my number scale. And so every day I walk in, they'd say, "What number are you?" And if I said 8 or 9, one of the coaches, there were probably 12 coaches in there, would say, "Do you want a cup of tea? Please." If I walked in and they said, "What number are you?" and I said 13, "We'll put the kettle on and make us all a brew." and what it did was it made, when I walked in and they asked me what my number was, they all knew how I was and where they stood as well. They didn't have to walk around on eggshells.
Yeah.
Because they knew. So they'd either avoid me or include me. And that was such a massive thing, but we have to talk. You have to be open and you have to educate.
Yeah.
But am I back? Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
Right.
You're back, mate.
Just for obviously, just for people listening and people who are at home, and you know, if anyone does feel like they are suffering, who is there anyone in particular who you would suggest they go to speak to? I'm guessing. Would you say it has to be someone you trust? Because I don't know. It must be quite hard to go straight to a doctor initially.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I think the biggest step is talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And if the first person you talk to says, "Well, I just suck it up and get on with it," they're not the right person. Right? You obviously have to talk to somebody you trust. And if you're being the person who they're talking to, you need to get them, I hate the expression signpost, but you need to get them to talk to somebody who's more in touch with how they can go forward.
Yeah.
There are lots of phone numbers that you can dial, from the Samaritans to Calm to Mind, and if you're struggling, just Google mental health phone numbers and they'll all come up, and they're all anonymous, they're all confidential. So I just shout into the dark, because that helps. I found, for me, shouting on Twitter into the dark helped, right? But that's just me. Talk to somebody, talk to a friend. If you see your mate struggling, just send him a text, ring him up and say, "Are you okay? Just let me know." It's the initial conversation that's the hardest bit.
Foxy, because I guess as a sportsman, you sometimes see when people are not quite themselves, and you know, again, sportsmen, they not try and act tough, but if you got, I don't know, if I went to the guy sat next to me in the change room, said, "Mate, you seem a bit down, like you're not yourself. Like, everything okay?" And they look at you and they go, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm fine." Like how far do you push it? Like, because you don't want to keep asking and asking and asking.
No, you don't push it. You just go.
But if you can see there's something not right, then
all you have to say is,
do you then try and tell someone else to, I don't know, tell the coach, a manager, or someone in to say, "Look, I'm a bit worried." Like, do you do that, or you just kind of have a bit of faith in the guy that eventually he'll speak to someone, because you don't want to let it get too far down the line.
Right. We play cricket for a reason. We play cricket to win. We're a team. And this is really vicious, this bit. You want to make everybody better. And the people who aren't getting better, you get rid of. You chop them off. Right. That being said, you're sitting next to a good teammate. And he's not been himself recently. Is it because of lack of form? You don't know. You don't know what's going on outside his life, whether he's spending more money than he should on the dogs. It's really difficult. It is incredibly difficult. So you just say, first of all, you say, "Are you all right?" And you're going to get back the standard reply, "Yeah, I'm fine." And you go, "Are you sure you're not being yourself?" "Yeah, no, I'm all right." Okay, well, I don't think that you are yourself at the moment. Look, I'm not going to pry. I'm not going to push it. You've got my number. If you've got anything to talk about, send me a text. Give me a ring. It's between me and you. It might be a fortnight. He might never. But he might come back to you and go, "Fuck it, I don't know what's happening at the moment. I just don't feel right. That starts the conversation.
Yeah.
And then, well, who do you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to the coach? No, because if I talk to him, he might not pick me. Well, have you talked to your girlfriend, your missus? Well, I'm not so sure she'd understand. All right, let's go a different way then. Let's go to the sports psych, or let's go to your GP or the club's GP, and just try and work and weave it and see. Yeah. Because what you're wanting at the end of it is for him, in a selfish way, you want him to back and fire in for the team. Yeah. But he's also a colleague and a friend, and a friend in the dressing room, and you want him to be okay. Every situation is different. I look back now at the dressing rooms I was in, and I now can see that lots of people have mental health issues. Be the anxiety, be the almost psychotic ADHD. I can see all sorts of players, but that just wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah.
And what you have to remember is, if you're the person, it's not down to you to cure them. If you're in the next rush and you ball a nice ball and it nips back and it clips somebody and they fall flat on their face, you'll go and pick them up. But if they've got a cut, it's not your job to stitch them up. It's your job to get them to a professional who'll stitch them up. So if somebody with a mental health issue in your dressing room identifies this eventually, it's not your job to be the analyst, the psychiatrist. It's just your job to help them find somebody who will help them.
Yeah.
And the responsibility is on us, is on every individual to look after each other. Just as you would like to be looked after, just as I would like to be looked after. But it's not our responsibility to cure. It's our responsibility to get them to the people who can help, manage, and not necessarily cure. You can't cure. I don't think you can cure my mental health issues, but I can manage. So that's where we are. And I think that should go for everybody, really.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. So, Johnny, how are you? Anyway, I know you said the other day you're feeling a bit down about stuff.
Not so much down, right? It's rut. I'm in a rut, and I'm always like, for for me, I think I'm always a bit like this time of year, right? Because I'm very much summer person, outdoors. Foxy alluded to it earlier. I like the early mornings. I like the like the late nights. I like getting in the garden. I'm down the club a lot in the summer. But then once you get the autumn out of the way, it's kind of right. Okay, all roads lead to Christmas, and you've got Christmas to think about the kids and stuff like that, and that's all really good. But then it's kind of, I always find January and February is always a bit of an anticlimax.
After the Lord Mayor's show.
Yeah, it's very much like that. But then it kind of, because we're in this kind of weird environment where we're all in the house together at the same time. We haven't got that routine of, I'm going to work every day. I'm sitting at the kitchen table. I spoke about it earlier. I'm just finding it really weird at the minute. And I know the things that, like, the good habits, I think the good habits that kind of break the cycle a little bit, like the little bit of exercise here and there, the going for a walk, all this kind of stuff. You're right. It's just getting up and doing it. And I know I've got to do it. I completely know I've got to do this stuff. I've got to be better at this stuff. But at the minute, I'm just finding it like I just can't be asked.
Couple of things, right? You're probably aware of SAD, seasonal
Stockholm syndrome.
No, seasonal. I can't remember the middle letter. And what it is it's a disorder that is brought upon by lack of daylight.
Yeah.
And I get that completely. It is possible.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Thank you. I'd sit in the garden.
Thank you. There you go. We should rely on the brains. You can buy, and I've done this, you can buy SAD light bulbs, which emit as close to near daylight as you can possibly get.
Really?
I have one that next to me, and if I will often put it on and sit underneath it. It's not like one of them face tan things.
Like a heat
not
lamp
ultraviolet. It's a proper thing. It's a proper thing. And one of the best places to get them from, if you go on Amazon, you'll pay a fortune. But my mum used to do a lot of sewing on a sewing machine. She used to make all my fucking clothes and stuff. Sewing outlets sell them because you need proper light if you're either knitting or sewing or embroidering, whatever. And they sell them. And they are, they work. They are good.
Yeah.
How often would you use that, Fox?
I just used to.
Do you have to get to a state of MH?
No. It sits. I sit here on the sofa looking at the telly, and there's a light here, and that's it. So when we don't have any. Well, we do have a ceiling light, but we never put it on. We just have lamps.
Yeah.
So I just put it on and sit underneath it. That was it.
But I definitely like to see.
It's not like a regime. It's not like I'm going to stick my head in the microwave for 30 minutes. It was just a casual thing.
I definitely get like this though about this time of year.
Yeah.
Definitely January and February. They're just a fucking long old slog, aren't they? I just think they are.
Well, Johnny,
once the spring comes, I'm fucking right as rain.
February's got to be difficult for you because being an attractive man, it's the month of Valentine's, and you must have a workload that is
inundated. Keeps the postman busy for 2 weeks, doesn't he?
Gonna be fucking quiet this year, I tell you, lads. Terrible times on the horizon for me, tell you.
Are you not married, Johnny?
It's a touchy subject, that Paul. I keep promising, mate. I keep promising, but just things get in the way. You know what I mean?
Do you have a long-term partner?
Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes. 15 year, I believe. I was reliably informed the other week.
12 children.
Just the two. We're engaged. It's been quite a long engagement.
Wow. No point now, mate. If you haven't done it by now, just...
Well, this is it, mate.
Well, we've got into territory I didn't expect.
Well, we always fucking doing this, don't we? Put me hat on. People say this, they might buy a hat. Big dog, length does matter.
I guess we'll finish off this little sort of mental health bit. I guess obviously cheers to Foxy for leading it, and I guess opening up as you always do, very honest, and letting us in a bit of what you went through. But if anyone wants to get in touch, if Foxy's put his email out, he put your email out there a few weeks ago, and I know he does it on social media quite regularly at the minute. But if anyone does want to get in touch, just to talk, really, I guess the one thing we want people to take from this is that, there is always someone there willing to listen, whether it be someone you know or not, there is someone there. So, Foxy, your email address is?
Graeme, Graeme, Graeme.Fowler@hotmail.co.uk. If you ask me any cricket questions, I probably won't answer them. But if we're talking about mental health, then yes, I will.
If you want any cricket questions answering, tune into the podcast.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. But no, Absolutely. I'll just say, the fact that you're putting your email address out there, I think is phenomenal. I think it's excellent. I think for me, tonight has been an eye-opener. Tonight is probably not the type of show that we've done before in the past, but I think mental health is very prevalent right now. I think it's very much a hot topic. And as Rushy said, I think at the top of the show, if one person listens to this and, I don't know, sends Foxy an email saying, look, I'm struggling a bit here, then job done, as far as I'm concerned, job done. We might help one person, and that's I'm buzzing with that.
Sorry, you can see one of my pencil sharpness.
I've never seen that cat before, Foxy.
No, this is one of the twins. When I wrote Absolutely Fox, I'm sure I've told you this before, 2016, I went to 2 separate dinners and 2 blokes came up to me with the book and said, can you sign this? If it wasn't for this book, I wouldn't be here. Which was why I carried on, wrote 3rd book, Mind Over Matter, but enjoy doing things like this.
Yeah.
Actually, enjoy's not the right expression, although I have enjoyed it, but I think it's one of those where I feel duty bound to do it, because if you are helping somebody somewhere, or you may do, you can't stop, can you? You have to do it. That's it. So if somebody wants to email me about mental health issues and well-being, I will reply. It might take me a while, but I will reply. If you want to know what it was like to play against Malcolm Marshall, it was beautiful, but very difficult.
Tune in the podcast to hear about all that.
Oh, Rushy, have you, on a separate issue, have you seen that with thinking about banning bouncers?
Well, you know what? I'm Durham's PCA rep, and it got brought up in the group discussion a few years ago. Initially, the conversation started, it was for junior cricket, and then I can't remember what I was doing at the time, but I flicked back onto the chat, and they were on about it in first-class cricket, and I was like, hang on, I've missed something here. Surely, the conversation's a non-starter, isn't it? how can you take away? Like, fair enough. Like junior cricket, maybe, but I don't get it. Like it's part and parcel of the game. It's a skill. It's a tactic. It's
with all due respect, junior cricket, if everybody's wearing a helmet, they aren't bowling fast enough.
No.
To really,
how many young kids can get it head high anyway?
I had a bit of a chat on text on Twitter tonight with Mike Selvey, and I said, well, to be honest, I only got hit on my head twice in 20 years, and they were both on iffy wickets.
Yeah.
So what are we trying to do with the game? There's more people fucking fall over pissed every Friday night with concussion than they get playing cricket. So what do you want to do? Do you want to sanitise the game? If you get rid of bouncers in cricket, you might as well play with a fucking tennis ball.
Yeah.
Have you seen the way they're fucking hitting the ball in that bloody T10 thing?
The biggest worry...
The fielders are going to get fucking hurt.
The biggest worry and the biggest concern that I have thought is for bowlers.
Yeah.
When they bowl on the follow through with your head down, somebody twats one back at you.
Yeah.
That's the... And there was a guy at Notts, wasn't there, 2 years ago? Fractured skull.
You got to watch that. I watched it.
It was disgusting. Fletcher's he's actually agreed to come on at some stage. So I've spoke to him many times about that and how he's feeling. And Luke Fletcher,
right?
So
we're going to get him on.
Is he all right now?
Crazy. I think he's good now. Good. I know for a while he had it was literally right on the top.
Yeah.
When it was horrible. It's one of those things when you're watching on the telly, you just think.
I remember watching it live. It was just one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was just the colour drained out of us watching it. It was disgusting.
But you're right. That's more dangerous than bouncers.
Should it is. But what should we do? What should we do as professional cricketers? Do we accept the risks? Do we sign papers? What do we do?
But isn't the risk so reduced so much from, say, when you were playing, Foxy?
It wasn't in 1984 when I played against the fucking West Indies. Trust me.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
I thought I could fucking die.
There's much less risk now than when you were playing.
I got 175 quid for playing a one-day international against the West Indies.
Yeah.
I could have fucking died.
Yeah,
but the thing is,
millions in this IPL, and you kind of outlaw the bouncer, man. Surely.
There's more people fucking killed by coconuts than there are. How far do we have to take it? If somebody had said to me when I started my career, right, you may get killed, are you willing to participate? I would have said, yeah, of course I am, yeah, because it's what I wanted to do.
Don't get me wrong, I'm obviously number 11, have been for a few years. If someone says to me, look, Rushy, bouncers, they're still going to be in, you might get hurt. Do you still want to play? We're like, well, yes.
Well, you have up to now, haven't you?
Well, you must have,
exactly,
Rushy, you must have had a few fucking wrapped around your head. Bottom number 11.
Couple. Nothing too bad. 2020, I got hit in the throat. I've had a few glancing blows on the helmet, but in the T20 against Lancs, we played against James Faulkner. I went in last week, we were miles behind, and he's got a very good slow ball out the back of his hand, hasn't he, Faulkner, the Aussie lad?
Yeah,
so I was just waiting for this nice full loopy slow ball, and he banged one in. got me straight in the throat. You cop it, don't you? Like, I don't know, it hurts,
man.
but you're going to get the mag. Like,
You
I'm
still
not
need
the
to
quickest
tell
bowler in the
it.
world, but I've hit people on the head. You want me?
You still need to tell it to you.
Absolutely.
See, there are 3 discussions going on at the moment. Can you imagine rugby without tackles, football without heading the ball, and cricket without bounces?
It's not worth. Football's gone backwards. I don't even know if I enjoy watching football anymore. They can't tackle anymore, even from 10 years ago. So that for me is on the slide.
With all due respect, Johnny, from 10 years ago, that would have been a late tackle.
Yeah. But then rugby without tackling, Jesus.
There would be 3 different games.
It just wouldn't be worth it.
No, it wouldn't be.
It'd be touch rugby.
Touch rugby.
Touch rugby. Football, no heading. And it would be rubber ball cricket.
Yeah.
Quick cricket.
Aye. The offside game.
Pitch it up and twat it. Yeah.
Just speaking of cricket, I guess we'll finish off with a little bit of sort of present relevant topic. England. Actually, Johnny posted something. Foxy, you've scored a double 100 in India.
Yeah, I was the first Englishman to do it. Yeah.
Didn't Mike Gatton get the second about 20 minutes later though?
Well, it doesn't matter. He was.
I know
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the actual answer, but how many people have done it since? Do you know? I bet there's not many.
I don't. I think Alistair Cook did it.
Must have.
And I can't remember how long it took me. It was about 9 hours. Say mine was 9 hours, 20 minutes. That they aren't the right figures. He did his in 9 hours, 16 minutes. So a journalist rang me up and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "These young kids, they've no stamina."
What did you put on? What was the partnership? Must have been massive.
Yeah, and I don't really know. I honestly don't know. Yeah, I up with Tim Robinson. I do know we were 170 odd for none, and then he was out, and then Gat came in, and I think we were over 400 when 410 or something when I got out. But the daft thing about that is right. I think I was 10 or 15 not out first night. At the end of the second day of my batting, which was the second day of the game, I was 149 not out. Last over, Gat's facing. Ravi Shastri's bowling, left arm spin, 4 around the bat. Gat swept the first ball and he could sweep defensively. I've never met anybody who could sweep as a defensive shot, but he could. And he went like that and it trickled down to deep backward square. Hello, Charlie. So the fielder was just walking towards it and I was walking down the wicket. And I got halfway down and I said, "Gat, what are you doing? Do you not want a single?" He said, "Look, you've done enough today. You go back up to the other end. I'll sort this." Which, to be honest, is an incredible thing to do. Last over of the game.
Yeah.
He was 90 odd, I think. So I went back and I stood there and I thought, I'm not taking my cap off. I'm not taking my gloves off. I'll just stand here. All I have to do is to count to 5 and that's the end of the day's play. I'll just stand here. And I just went like that. Anyway, I got to 3 and the umpire said time. I'd fallen asleep at the crease.
Just missed two balls.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
Unreal.
I actually fell asleep.
Oh, I'd love to see some video footage of that. You just stood at the
I don't think there is any. I don't think there is any. And I remember the following day, because I had two septic knees because I dived and ripped my trousers and my knees. And so my pads, my knees were stuck to the bandages, which were stuck to my trousers, which were stuck to my pads. Right? So 149 not out. No fucking rehydration. Walked off the pitch, gave me a bottle of beer. I had 2 mouthfuls and I was as pissed as a parrot. The physio redressed my knees, and I'm walking around the hotel at night like that with shorts on and 2 bandaged knees. I look like a fucking Just William school kid. But I went to bed, and I remember waking up thinking, I only need 1 for a round of applause. So I got 150. And the entire stadium was quite full.
Where was it?
Madras, Chennai, where they're playing now.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, after I got the 1, I remember thinking, I don't want this to end. I'm enjoying this because I don't really want to sit in the dressing room. So I just carried on batting. And then after I got to 200, it was like somebody, like I was a lie low, and somebody had pulled the fucking plug out, and I just went.
How would you go back on and failed after that kind of innings? Is it just like torture?
No, I love fielding. I always loved fielding. Always loved it.
But even after that, though, when you
because you're so full of adrenaline.
Yeah.
You know, and there were a couple of singers in the hotel that were from. And anyway, that's another story. So I was so full of adrenaline. You just gotta love it. Absolutely love it.
Class.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Joe Root, best in the world at the minute?
Easily.
Yes.
I didn't watch it first thing. Obviously, I wasn't in a hurry to get up to watch it. But apparently, it was a bit of a struggle for him early on.
He just played it. He played it so.
No, it wasn't a struggle. It was a proper Test match innings.
Yeah.
Proper Test match innings is patience, working out what you can do, what the wicket's like. Virat Kohli set some fucking weird fields, but that's not Joe's problem. He has to deal with the ball and stuff. And he's just getting better and better. It was a proper Test match innings because he's playing against a different level to the Sri Lankans, with all due respect to them. Yeah. But he played himself in. He worked out what he could do, what he couldn't do, where things were. It was Test cricket is all about patience, not about anybody says, "Well, this is how I play." Well, you're not a fucking Test cricketer then. Yeah. And he adapted and he played beautifully.
He looked so in control, didn't he, Foxy?
Yeah, today was third 100 in a row, including a double. This was his best innings.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
There was something, when you watch his innings, the 100 he scored in Sri Lanka, and you watch him against the spin, he swept them all so easily. When I flicked it on this morning when I got up, and Ashwin was bowling at the time. Yeah, he didn't play one sweep. And
Ashwin didn't give him any sweep.
The commentators were on, and there was a stat saying something. Ashwin gets 35% out of the batters who tried to sweep him.
Yeah.
He didn't try and sweep him once, but as soon as the other two lads came on, straight away. And that just shows you how much he thinks about the game, and
he's worked
knows
it out. He's worked
like
it out.
That.
There was a daft stat on Sky today that if you, and I remember
Channel 4,
Clive, Channel 4. Sky, Clive Lloyd taught me this. He said, if you can play a shot and it gets you 50 runs before you get out, carry on playing it. If you get 8, stop playing it. And there was a daft stat on Sky today that against the sweep shot for Joe Root, he averages 300. Now, what I've seen about him and how he plays, I will never be able to understand unless he sits me down and tells me, because I don't know how the fuck he does it.
We'll get him on. We'll ask him.
I don't know how. I don't know and he obviously sees things in length and in line and in speed, and also where he's going to hit it. Now, all those combinations, I do not understand.
Yeah.
So he has mastered a part of the game as a batsman that I can't even begin to understand.
Yeah,
he's got
in my 200 in Chennai. I didn't sweep, not once.
I think
didn't use my feet either.
In perspective, I obviously not a batsman, but playing the game generally. I think the majority of the time, sweep is a premeditated shot. And most of the time, people who sweep will hit it in one area. But I reckon you watch the way he sweeps. He's got one that goes along the ground to deep mid-wicket, one that goes fine, one that goes in front. He's got the dab. He's got 5 or 6 different variations of it.
So the sweep for 6.
And a reverse eye as well.
He must see something so completely different to what I understand. But I remember talking with Gat, and Gat had a lot of different sweeps. He was famous for doing a reverse sweep and getting out in a semi-final of a World Cup and got bollock for it. But Gat could actually sweep as a defensive shot.
Yeah.
Now, the sweep is basically a bottom-hand shot because it's that motion, so it's that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm right-handed, but I batted left-handed. So my bottom hand, I might as well put it in my fucking pocket. So that's why I couldn't sweep. I would have been great at reverse sweeping, but if I'd have done that during the 80s, I'd have got sacked. But Joe Root has this. He knows that when he gets down on one knee, no matter what comes at him, he has the ability to either block it, tickle it, hit it, and all that is set up in his head, and that is an unbelievable set of skills to have.
Yeah.
Hello, Charlie.
I remember Stokesy came back. He came in for a net. I don't know when it was. Last year, 2 years ago, maybe. And he obviously, when he comes back, you chat to people and you ask, what was it like playing against him? Like, how good did he play? Like, what does he think about this? And anyway, I don't know how the conversation started, but he was on about bowling at Joe Root in the nets. And he was, in his words, it was something like, he's a freak. He says, you can bowl 15 away swingers and he'll hit every single one of them through the covers. He said he bowled them an in swinger. He thought he got it absolutely perfect. Joe Root was lining them up to hit it through the covers like he had the others. And he said the last minute realised it was an in swinger and he's just changed his shot and nailed it through mid-on or mid-wicket. And he said like his decision making and the sort of the process and how late he can do it. He said it was amazing. I guess that
there's always been a conversation about batsmen playing against swing bowling, and they've always said you play it late. What they don't mean play it late as in between your pads. What they mean is you make your decision late.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's what he has. I remember I played against Wacker at the Oval, and initially he's fucking quick and he slightly comes in, and then because I'm left-handed, he slides it across me. Then he buggers off and I carry on batting. And then eventually he comes back on with the old ball. And he ran in and it came that way first. Okay. And then he did that and I remember it just going the other way. But I was half expecting it, so I hadn't moved. And it was then reading him as a quick bowler, just the same as you read a spinner, reading him to see what he was doing. And that's the ability in spades that Joe Root has got.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could do it, but not as successfully, obviously. But that, and then it becomes exciting. And because if as a batsman, you have shots and you groove those and they're like arrows in your quiver. So when the ball's coming down, you just pull that shot out and execute it. And when another ball's coming down, you pull that shot out and execute it. And the real skill is to identify what the ball is, and then you let your shot just take over because it's become instinct. And that's what Joe has. He can play every shot in the book, but he just waits and waits and waits, and then he just pulls one out of the quiver. And it's fucking beautiful to watch. It really is.
He is a good player to watch.
Oh,
he's unbelievable. And I tell you, not to kind of change the subject away from Joe Root. I went to Old Trafford last year in the Ashes, and I watched Steve Smith, and I thought he was fucking hot. I watched him on the telly loads, and I thought he looked fucking horrible, right? And he kind of does, right? His techniques, you usually know more than me. His technique's not brilliant, but when I watched him at Old Trafford, and you watch him live, how he picks gaps in the field is just something else. It's unbelievable how he picks the gaps in the field.
I'll tell you something, as a batsman, when I watch other batsmen and they get to the crease and they look up and they look round like that, and they log in where the fielders are, what they do is look where the fielders are. And what you should do is look where the gaps are. Because if you look where the fielders are, you actually do hit it to the fielders. If you look where the gaps are, you hit the gaps. And that's Steve Smith completely. I mean, the guy's fucking autistic.
Yeah. I'll go along with that. But what was unbelievable, it was a quick fire fucking 80 odd or whatever it was. And he never hit one fielder. In the whole innings, he didn't hit one fielder. Didn't hit one to cover, didn't hit one to mid off. Everything just went past the fielder. Everything. It was fucking phenomenal.
Brian Lara was the same. You don't look at fielders, you look at gaps. And if you're clever and you're playing well, you have 3D gaps. So you have just over straight mid wicket, you have just over short extra cover, you have 3D gaps. So you have a mental map in your head. And you've worked out what ball is coming down, what my options are, and you play accordingly. Now, I've only been able to do that a few times in my career, but people like Steve Smith, Brian Lara, it just became part of it. Corley and the other one.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to be a good test match. Now, I think the setup for a good test match. England need to score 500.
I just can't see us bowling India out.
Foxy, you'll know more than me and Johnny. It'll start turning now, won't it? Next couple of days?
Well, it did 30 odd years ago. I don't know what it's going to do now. But the thing is that it's spinners don't just get wickets by turning it. Most of spinners' wickets are through flight and deception.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see what happens.
Here's a question for you. Playing there today, watching, the ground looked completely different without a million people inside of it. Surely the atmosphere in India without the crowd will make a huge difference to the English lads.
See, I don't know whether I was unusual or not, but it never mattered to me whether there was
Foxy,
one person.
more unusual, I'll tell you.
It didn't matter to me whether there was one person there or played in Calcutta with 100,000. Didn't make any difference because the contest for me was that bloke running up to bowl. I don't care who's watching. If I was fielding, yes, I loved the crowd. I loved playing with them. I loved fucking chanting and talking and fucking messing about with them. But batting, it never made a difference to me who was there. Never ever.
It doesn't to me either.
And all this stuff. I know Paul very well, who runs the Buy Me Army, and he's an unusual bloke. But his heart's in the right place. But the Buy Me Army is, to me, would not have made one single bit of difference. I don't rely on anybody else.
Aye.
I'm batting. He's bowling. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's it for me in a nutshell. So whether Chennai empty or full, it obviously hasn't made a difference to Joe Root, has it?
They're never that full anyway now in India, either for test matches. It's more the 1 days and the 2020s.
Well, always they can't gamble as much on test matches, can they?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
I need the loot.
What's your prediction? Come on, what's your prediction? Test match.
Oh, Rushy, you know test matches. If you can predict and be accurate about predicting results in test matches, you have one bad session. It can turn the whole game.
Yep.
And I've played enough cricket to know that you can't predict sessions. So I have no idea.
I won't sit on the fence. I'm going to go draw.
I will enjoy watching it unfold.
Draw?
I'll not sit on the fence. I'm going to say a draw. I'm going to say we're going to get 400 maybe, and I think they're going to bat for 2 days.
I'd love to see Stokesy bat for best part of
2 hours
tomorrow.
If he bats for a session, we get 400. No bother.
I don't. I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if it's a draw.
I just can't see. I can't see our 2 spinners taking 10 wickets. For no other reason than I'm not saying they're not good bowlers. They are, but when they got all the wickets against Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankans got themselves out. It wasn't down to their awesome bowling. It was down to Sri Lankans playing bad shots.
Yeah,
I reckon decision making.
I think if there's going to be a result, it'll be a good game to watch.
Yeah.
Well, they're all good games, aren't they? I genuinely need
Right.
No bother.
Always a pleasure, man.
Cheers, Foxy. Thanks for tonight.
Yeah, no problem.
Speak soon, boys.
We'll have a chat about how we talk next time.
Yep.
Yeah, Johnny?
Perfect. Yep.
Definitely, mate.
Good to see you, Johnny. Turn
You
your
too,
central
mate.
heating. Turn your central heating on, will you?
Nah.
Cheers, Foxy.
Cheers.
Still there, Fox?
Oh, fuck, am I? I need a piss.